Hello and welcome to Authority Marketing Live. I'm Melanie Hirschhorn. I am so excited today because I have my client joining me. His name is Michael Ross. He is a financial expert and he has literally written the book on it. It's called The False Hope of Global Diversification, and you can actually get it right here. There we go. There we go. That's where you can get it. I'm going to pull this off right now, though, because I want you to see my name. And I'm going to bring Mike on right now, and we're going to talk about his new book that is out this week. And it is super exciting. So, hello.
Hello, Melanie.
You are a published author. How does it feel?
It's kind of surreal, to be honest with you. Been working on this for a while. It's kind of weird to just have it out there, but it's great. It's fun.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. So, why don't we tell people what the false hope of global diversification means and why they need to know about it?
So I spent, this is my 35th year in the industry, seen a lot of changes. And what I began noticing over the last, maybe 10 to 15 years, certainly the last few bad markets like we're in now, is that all these stock markets around the world do the same thing at the same time. That conflicts with what the traditional view of diversification is. So as now I'm an independent financial advisor, I can tell that story without getting pushback from one of the big banks that I might be working for.
And I am not going to say that I'm an expert on anything financial, even remotely, but I read this book and it really opened my eyes to some interesting points. And we hear about, for example, the 529 and how it's a no-brainer. Everybody's supposed to have a 529, and you're not totally for that, to say the least.
So what's funny about that is when you're in the, shall we say, deposit stage, and you really want to give somebody a gift, a lift up in life by paying for your education, you really don't think about the withdrawal stage at all, because you're doing it and it makes you feel good, and you're contributing to junior or grand juniors education. That gives you a warm feeling. But I got to tell you, I've been on the other side of it, and the withdrawal phase is very clunky. And then what happens if the kid either gets a full ride scholarship or doesn't go to school? So those accounts become very awkward later on in life. So I've kind of taken the opinion that instead of depositing money into these accounts, change your estate documents so you're giving the kid money if you're no longer around, and just build wealth. Just build a net worth so you can pay for the kid's education when the time comes. That seems to be a better solution to me.
See, and I love that, because you have all these solutions laid out that are really, they make sense, but they kind of go counter to what typical thought is on the subjects. So you obviously had to be really brave to stand in your power and say, this is not right. Was that hard for you to do that?
Well, the ironic thing is, as I've talked about it to clients since then, they all tend to agree with me that, one of the jokes in the book is, don't use a 529, but don't tell anybody at the next cocktail party you're not doing it, because it's viewed as a heresy. Oh, how terrible. You're not using that 529. You're keeping the money. How awful of you. So it's something that no one wants to talk about, but I've found it to be a better solution to just accumulate wealth yourself.
And in general, though, your entire book is going against the grain of what those financial gurus tell us.
Well, let's not use the term guru. Let's use the term traditionalist, the traditional view, or the regulatory view or the big bank view. Um, you know, the fact that I have gray hair and almost no hair tells you I've been around this for a long time. And what everyone is pressured to do is the traditional way. And what we've seen in our lives, you and me, Melanie, is that oftentimes things change, but the public doesn't get around to making the change till way later because you're afraid to make the change. So hopefully I'm perhaps the canary in the coal mine on that.
I love that. And I just dye my hair so that you can't see all the gray regularly. Um, so this book is for, people like me, but it's even more so for people who work in the financial industry. And can you tell me sort of who you think this book would help the most?
Well, my target market is the young financial advisor.
Mhm.
The young financial advisor does not necessarily get this type of input from either the investment vendors or their branch managers or others. They learn this from the seasoned veterans who really can't talk about it. So the focus is on young financial advisors and those who I can perhaps help in terms of giving them some non-traditional guidance.
And this non-traditional guidance, though, it's not steering them wrong. It's really talking about how to retain clients
Yes.
and
Yes.
and basically grow your client roster as a whole, is it not?
Yeah. So what I noticed as I looked at the literature for independent financial advisors is the broad categories of information are in either marketing or business development or a business practice management. There's very few um, educational nuggets on actually running portfolios for clients. And as a consequence of that, I feel like this fills a vacuum that exists out there.
It's like doctors who don't get taught how to run a business. They're just taught how to be a doctor. And when they come out of medical school, they're like, wait, I'm supposed to run a practice too? It's very similar to that.
That's a really nice analogy. That one never even occurred to me, but it's a nice analogy.
Well, feel free to use it going forward.
I plan on it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So, you have a free gift for everybody, and it's available on your website, which I'm going to now put up there again, False Hope Global Diversification.com. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about this free gift? And it's called 5 Tricks to Separate the Signal from the Noise. And full disclosure, I didn't know what that meant before we started working together, but you've explained it to me so beautifully. So why don't you just tell everybody what they can expect from this great freebie?
Well, now is a vivid example. You've had a rough market this year after having 16 or 18 months of unfettered growth in equity markets. Now, if you turn on the TV or if you looked at your social media feed, you hear awful things. You hear the R word, meaning recession. You hear about you know, terrible suggestions about the economy. And I would view most of that as noise, as stuff that doesn't help you make investment decisions. So, what I did in terms of the free gift is give you 5 nuggets of things that I think are valuable, that I think do help make investment decisions, that you can click through and look at the resources, things like interest rates, things like technical indicators that I think are very useful and that are very easy to digest. So rather than being glued to some other media source where you're going to get this array of different inputs, none of which are the same, I might add, this is a simple way to show people a few things to look at that just kind of stay on schedule.
That's great. And it is a very valuable resource because I feel like, as you've explained to me over and over again, there are traditional things that everybody is sort of ushered to and ushered through. And this is kind of taking a step back and going, well, maybe there's another way to look at it. And maybe it doesn't have to be so complicated and so formulaic.
Agreed. My attitude is that so many things, and this is true in all of life. So many things have such an array of different data inputs that you find yourself confused. I mean, I think the term is the paradox of choice. Whereas, I'm in the middle of doing an office remodeling, and I don't want 16 choices on colors of carpet. I don't want 25. I want 2 or 3. And I want whoever is giving them to me a reason why those 2 or 3 are good or bad. So this allows you to kind of break away from the noise and focus on the signal.
I love that. All right. So since everybody's using the R word, we're not even going to say it out loud. Is there anything that your book, The False Hope of Global Diversification, can sort of guide people through so that they're not like running and fearing for their lives?
So there's a couple nuggets there. Number one, and I would guide people, quite frankly, to one of the Federal Reserve Districts, which is the St. Louis Fed's website.
Oh.
Just take a half an hour and look through that. And what you'll find are data sets on long-term inflation, not what happened month over month, because that really doesn't tell you much. Other data sets related to what actually constitutes a recession, what actually constitutes what signals it, and things like that. And I think it'll just be an eye-opening experience because, again, in most cases, media sources want to get you emotional. They want to get you riled up. And I'm trying to make it a calm, methodic process to manage a portfolio.
And that's how it should be, right? Because it isn't about the now, it's about the long term.
Sure. And I think if you look at more longer term indicators, you get out of the now, and that allows you to make some more thoughtful decisions.
So you said you've been working in this business for more than 30 years. How long have you been working with some clients? Do you have clients that have been with you for, 10, 15 years or longer?
I still have some of the clients I inherited in the first 2 years. Wow. I talked to a gentleman yesterday who I've had since 1989. I have others since the late 1980s. More important to me is I have multiple generations of the same family, where I started out with the grandparents and then with the parents, and now I'm working with the kids. Really, part of the reason I wrote the book was I want to develop some proteges in that next generation to work with me, so that as the grandkids become of investment age, I can bring someone in of a similar age to work with them.
That's a great plan. I love that. Okay, so is there anything that you kind of see for your book? Where would you love to have it out? Who should be reading it right now? Can you think of like your top 2-3 people who really need to have this in their hand?
So I spoke to a young lady yesterday who I met through a different reason. She was a referral to a referral. Again, in that I would judge her to have been about 35 or 40 years old. She was relatively new in the business. She was looking for direction. And to me, that's the right hands to see the book. I've spoken to young men about the same kind of age, in that 30 to 40, 35, 40 age range. They've seen how the approach that they've been persuaded to take maybe hasn't worked out so well. And this becomes an outlet to approach it a different way.
And it gives them the signal as opposed to the noise.
One would hope, yes.
One would hope. It's not a false hope. It's a real hope.
Exactly. There you go.
So where can everybody get a copy of this fantastic book?
Well, you can go to my website, and the False Hope Global Diversification website, and that'll lead you on the path. You can go to the typical sources, be it Amazon or Barnes and Noble. You can get an ebook. You can get a paper book. Later in the summer, there will be an audiobook. But the best place to go would be the website, because it'll direct you the right direction.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to take that off now. Michael Ross, Thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to chat with you, and I am just so excited for you that you are now officially a published author. So congratulations.
Oh, and thanks for all your help, Melanie. You've been irreplaceable.
Oh, thank you.